Welcome, everybody, to another episode. The summer was ready to start for here on Dan-A-Plooza, and I'd like to give a big round of applause virtually to my guest, owner and promoter of All-Star Wrestling, Gary Damron.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you asking me to come on today.
Welcome, and we are glad to have you in Dan-A-Plooza. And for those watching and future watching, Gary has a show next week that I will be attending along with many other people. And what a great way to start the summer with, if you want to talk about this, Gary, your event, the Bash and Beckley 2.
The Bash and Beckley 2. Last year we did the Bash and Beckley 1, and it was so awesome. And we had such a good time. And we probably had, I'd say, about 1,300 people there. So
Wow.
This year we're looking at even bigger number, hopefully. And I think the show this year is even bigger than last year. We're going to have a match out there that is a very highly talked about match right now. That you're only going to be able to see it at ASW, and we do
Right.
streaming device. I do want to make mention of that because if you're not able to be there in person, we do have available to where you can watch it live at your home, on your phone or however. But the address to go to get the information for that is www.aswwv.com. That's www.aswwv.com. And the match that we're talking about, of course, is the big tag match. It's a dream match for a lot of wrestling fans. It's a dream match for FTR, dream match for the Wolves. The Wolves versus FTR. And that is going to be a super, super big match. And we're really excited about that. Loverboy Dennis Condrey is going to be at ringside. Not only that match, but we've got a kind of a match that's going to give the fans a little ECW flavor. We're going to have the Queen of Extreme, Francine. She'll be managing her guy, Shane Douglas, the franchise that night, along with Brian Myers. And they're facing off with Heath Slater and Rhino. So kind of a nostalgic match there. It kind of gives you a little ECW flavor. Other big matches on the show. The ASW X Division title will be defended. Huff Manley will be defending his title against M-Dog 20, Matt Cross. That looks to be a great match. The ASW Tag Team titles are on the line. The Heat Seekers, who is our current champions, they'll be facing off with Level X. And that's Level X's first time being together at ASW. So just looking for a really, really good night. And Jake the Snake Roberts will be there signing autographs. Tully Blanchard will be there signing autographs. Another big match that I forgot to mention, Enzo and Cass will be there. So Cass will be facing off with Vance Desmond. And Enzo will be in his corner, in Big Cass's corner. So just a lot of great things, and it's going to be a fun night. So it's going to be a big, big night in West Virginia wrestling, that's for sure.
All right. And those watching right now, if you need to know how to get there, the location is at the Beckley Convention Center. That's 200 Armory Drive in Beckley, West Virginia. Remember, the meet and greet is at 5 p.m. and the bell time is at 7. If you're wanting to get your tickets, and it's probably good if you get them early, go to the BeckleyConventionCenter.com and order your tickets today.
Yes, absolutely. We've sold quite a few so far, but there are still plenty of good seats left. There's not a bad seat in the house. So, if you get the general admission ticket, you're still going to have a great seat. So it's a beautiful building. It's air conditioned. So you don't have to worry about coming and burning up. It's going to be really nice and cool. They have a great concession stand. So it's going to be a great night. Be a night for everyone out. And we run a good, clean show. We don't think foul. We don't do anything. We try to center around the family. So yeah, it's going to be a good time.
Is there an ATM there? People need last minute money.
I think there probably is. I'm not sure, but I'm sure there probably is. In a building like that, I'm sure there is.
Okay. be best to bring some
Always
cash.
that, always want to have that available in case somebody does need it.
Exactly. But for those planning ahead, you may want to bring some cash beforehand.
Right.
So we'll be looking forward to the action. As Gary had mentioned, we're going to be looking forward to Cash and Dax taking on Eddie Edwards and Davey Richards. That is very much of a dream match. I have only seen Eddie and Davey Richards wrestle before on Impact and on independent things. I've never seen Cash or Dax wrestle other than on television. So I'm looking forward to that and that hard hitting style.
Dash wrestled for me when he was a kid.
Oh, wow.
He was just getting started out. I would say the year was probably 2007, 2008, somewhere.
Oh, wow.
He came to ASW, and at the time he worked for High Spots.
Okay.
So, he wrestled for us a couple of times and was a great guy. And I was so proud whenever he went on to, he moved to Florida, I think around 2010. That's when he went to NXT, and of course, the rest is history. I mean, he's made a great name for himself and became one of the top talents in the in the whole business. So I was really happy for him. So it's really good to be bringing him back to ASW. It's really going to be cool.
Exactly. And for those also watching, I believe that you were bringing the legendary horseman, isn't JJ Dillon?
Yes, I forgot. JJ Dillon will be there. Can't believe I forgot him. I mentioned Tully Blanchard, but I forgot.
So there'll be a little horseman reunion for you as well.
And JJ will actually be in the corner of the Heat Seekers that night.
Oh, wow. That'll be good.
Manage that night, which is something he don't get to do a whole lot nowadays. So
exactly. And something else I wanted to mention, I know people have been watching a lot of women's wrestling, but I know your current champion, Jessie Belle Smothers, she's been on the WOW network. And then she'll be taking on her opponent. Is it Cloby? Is that her name?
No, Kobe Max. So
Kobe Max.
Jessie's been our champion for several years now. I think Jessie's been our champion for probably the last 2 or 3 years. So
wow.
She's putting the belt on the line in Beckley. And man, it's going to be, we're going to do the Dwayne Richardson Memorial Battle Royal. Dwayne Richardson, a young man, he was a star athlete who was taken too soon. He was actually murdered, and
it's terrible.
The community was very well known, and so we always, every year we honor his family and him by
that's good
Memorial Battle Royal. So yeah, his family comes down, and that's just a salute him.
So we're looking forward to that. And it's going to be a really great night of wrestling action. Can you also tell me kind of like, why did you decide to become a wrestling promoter?
I grew up with loving wrestling. I loved wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
From when I was, and it's all I ever thought about when I was young. I remember as a punishment to me, like if I would get in trouble for anything, or if I made a bad grade on my report card or whatever, the punishment was my mom would take wrestling from me.
No.
Yeah, she knew that's what would get me. She knew that's what would hurt. So she would take my wrestling videotapes and videotapes. That's bad when, but I started promoting when I was 17, and I started actually promoting gospel music.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, big transition there. But the two are so different, but they're actually so much alike too.
Right.
You'll have to read about that later on, but yeah, it's just a crazy transition. But I started out doing gospel music, and I had found out that Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, was a preacher.
Oh, yes.
And I had invited him to come to one of my gospel shows. So he came down, and in the meantime, during that time, I was talking to him. he got me in touch with George South, and I'd met George, and we talked a little bit about maybe doing a show. And
Mhm.
said, well, since you've already got Ted booked and he's coming down to your gospel show, maybe the night before we could do a wrestling show. And we did. And that's kind of how it all started. So, yeah, we had that was a big legend show. We did that very, very first show. I had Ted DiBiase, of course, the $1 Million Man. We had
Right.
Rock and Roll Express, the Barbarian, Jimmy Valiant, and Greg the Hammer Valentine. So it was a big, big night of legends, and I still got the poster here somewhere. And just you know how the years have. That was almost 17, 18 years ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's just been a crazy ride. You know, I never in my wildest dreams thought that some of the guys that I grew up watching would now, in my older life, you know, my adult years, be considered friends of mine. I mean, there's guys
Exactly.
I have, the Mouth of South, Jimmy Hart. I call him about once a week. Well, about once a month,
Wow.
and check in with him. Dennis Condry's a great friend. I keep up with him. Of course, those are guys I grew up watching. So it's just an awesome thing. I've been very blessed. But yeah, I've been very, very blessed.
I almost wanted to say the Ted DiBiase line, everybody has a price, when you started mentioning $1 Million Ted. So I did meet him. And he was also doing like a sermon as well. I like that he likes his fans, and that he's a very humble person as well too.
Yeah, Ted's a good guy. We actually had Ted back in November this past year.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, but we got a lot of great things still in store this year. We're doing a free show in July that we like to do for
Awesome.
the fans. You know, our people, they're so supportive, and they come out and support us almost every time we open our door.
Wow.
So we try to do something every year to kind of give back. And this year, with gas prices as high as they are and food prices as high as they are, you know, everybody needs a little help, and you know, just
Right.
saying thank you. So we're going to give a free show in July, and that'll be at the Madison Civic Center on July the 9th.
Okay.
Then from there, in August, we're going to be back in Madison. We got Vicky Guerrero coming with Nyla Rose, and oh gosh, who else is on that show?
I think you got the dog face gremlin, Rick
Oh, yeah.
Steiner.
Steiner. How could I forget him? Yes, Steiner will be there. So of course, all the ASW guys will be there. So it's just you know, we got some great stuff coming. Then of course we're going into November after. Well, we got October first after August. We got October, and that is the farewell tour of the Rock and Roll Express. They'll be in Madison that night. We're going to induct them into our Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to have also that night. We'll have Dexter Lumis from WWE. He just left WWE not too long ago.
Yeah.
And so that'll be a fun night, and that's going to be in Madison. Then in November, on November the 5th, we're going to have Matt Cardona, who is actually the ASW heavyweight champion right now. So Matt Cardona will be back with us, along with Ethan Page. And it's going to be a fun year. We've got some good stuff coming up.
So everyone, check out the All Star Wrestling Facebook page if you want to see future events and the dates, and when you want to plan accordingly and see all this great wrestling action, and also meet this great wrestling talent. So everyone keep following along in that, and I will also share it in the Dan-A-Plooza Facebook page, so you can find it out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, and I think, like, I love that your show is very clean fun. I think the time I went there was, I want to say 2016, and you had the One Man Gang.
Oh yeah,
you had Davey Richards. You had what's that?
Dutch Mantell.
Dutch Mantell, yes. And one want to remember somebody else that you had.
Lanny Poffo was there.
Yes, because I remember I tried on the Macho Man ring, and that was huge.
Yeah, that was a fun time, and I don't think it was that show. I think it was another one. But we had the Dream Team. We had Greg the Hammer, Valentine, and Jake together, and Jimmy Hart was their manager. So that was cool.
Cutting in the strutting.
We've got to do so much cool stuff, man. It's just, and I'm very thankful to God for, just allowing me to do it, blessing me to be able to do it. But just an awesome thing.
Now, have you ever wanted to do any other role in wrestling other than an older promoter? Have you ever wanted to do any other aspects?
Young, I think when I was younger, of course, I got to admit, I was a super big fan of the managers, and I still admire the old.
Yeah.
I always thought they played such an important part in the match. So when I was younger, I always thought I was going to be a manager one day. And of course, that didn't happen, but being a promoter is so much fun. And it's stressful a lot, but man, I love it. And I wouldn't trade it for nothing in the world.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of the managers as well. That's something that I thought maybe I could do, or interviewer. I've always thought of that. But I think of great managers like Bobby the Brain Heenan. He was definitely one of my favorites. I always liked Jim Cornette.
Yeah. I'd say if you made a Mount Rushmore, and everybody always asks me this, what would be your Mount Rushmore of managers? Definitely Bobby the Brain is number one. He's George Washington. Yeah. Nobody will ever be able to take his spot. And when you think of wrestling managers, he is the first person you think about.
Just yes.
His personality and the way he presented himself. He looked like a wrestling manager.
Most definitely.
And then I got to say number two would be my buddy Jimmy Hart. And one of the main reasons I say it, not only because he was such a huge, icon as far as wrestling managers go, but because he's still out there doing it. I mean, he is. He's still out there managing on independent shows. So, Jimmy, in my opinion, would definitely be number two. I'd say a number three would probably be. I would have to say maybe Captain Lou, because I think Captain Lou did a lot of recognition, and Captain Lou did a lot for wrestling. He got out of wrestling before it really hit mainstream, but it was mainstream, but it wasn't as big as when he was there. But and I'd say four would probably have to be Jim Cornette. I would say Jimmy. Jim's definitely a character in wrestling that is an. So that would be my four guys. Who would your four be?
I feel like Bobby the Brain Heenan, and he's got to be up there.
Oh yeah.
And I definitely feel this is someone that I've always enjoyed. I feel like I would put Sherry Martel up there.
Oh yeah, definitely. Sherry was great.
Yeah.
True story, Dan. I actually called her and talked to her about coming in for us 1 week before she passed away.
Oh.
Yeah, so that never got to happen, but it almost did. We almost bought her in. I had all of her information. The only thing she was waiting on was for me to confirm a date with her. And then a week later, she passed away. So that was one of those opportunities. It's like, man, I'm so sad, but life happens.
Definitely. And Jim Cornette would be on there. Mm-hmm. And for the fourth one, it's kind of a little bit of a toss-up, but I think I would put Mr. Fuji on there too.
Oh, yes, Mr. Fuji. Yeah, he was great. He was a great. So many great managers, and that's something that they don't even have anymore is managers. Managers to me used to make some of the matches. I mean, they were made the matches the most entertaining. So
yep, I I always enjoyed that. And some of my favorite interviewers, well, obviously Mean Gene Okerlund. That was someone that I
Mean Gene.
always, and I've always enjoyed. I feel like he doesn't give enough credit for everything that he's done, but actually the franchise, Shane Douglas, because I know
Oh, yeah.
he's done interviews for Impact and everything.
Oh, okay.
So he's done interviewing before. And what I always like about Shane is he is an amazing storyteller.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
he loves to tell stories, not only in the ring, but just when you talk to him in person, you know?
Right.
Like
Yeah,
he,
we love working with Shane. Shane works for us quite a bit throughout the year. So yeah, we love Shane.
he's a great guy. I feel like he sometimes doesn't get enough praise as he should. So,
Right. Yeah.
but he's great. I'm trying to think of anybody else that I always liked as a manager, or not even manager, but just a interviewer. It's kind of hard because you know people kind of went in and out. You had Michael Cole and you know some of the people from WWE, but I'm kind of more old school where I like WCW. But I think Mean Gene was like the main person that I looked to because he always delivered a certain way and he would always get to the bottom of things.
Right. Yeah, he was definitely a character that, couldn't be duplicated. Mean Gene is a legendary, he when I think of a kid watching wrestling, Mean Gene is the in that, idea of what I think of when I was a kid.
There's, I guess, there is a story going around where I think he was interviewing. I want to say it was Flair or something, and somebody was just smoking, and he
Oh
told
yeah.
them to put the cigarette out. And everyone's trying to find out who that was.
Didn't they say there was a video somewhere that's supposed to have said who it was, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever hear who it was?
Not that I've heard different things, but you know, it was like Flair said it was this person, but Mean Gene's like, no, Flair was partying too hard. It was this, you know. So it's like people have different answers. But yeah. So and I've always been a big wrestling fan from back in the day in the early 80s. Undertaker was my guy.
Oh yeah.
And I liked all different tag teams from the Hart Foundation to the Bushwhackers. I always liked people that were kind of a little bit over the top, but not too over the top.
Yeah. Yeah, when I start the person that I give credit to for making me become a wrestling fan, and I've never got to meet him, is Hulk Hogan. I've
Oh, there you go.
come close to. Now, Jimmy Hart has taken some of my personal stuff and took it to him and got it signed.
Oh,
So I have
wow.
a bunch of Hogan signatures. But as far as me ever getting to meet him, I would, I've not got the chance to do that. But to me, he is the one that made me a wrestling fan because I can remember in the 80s, the big thing back then, of course, you probably remember this too, Dan, Saturday morning cartoons.
Yes.
That was the thing back when I was a kid. Saturday morning cartoons was what we looked forward to.
Yes.
And now kids don't even know what you mean when you say Saturday morning cartoons. I can
They're like
watching Hogan's Rock and Wrestling.
right.
And, just going through the channels and watching the cartoon. And then you realize these guys you're watching in cartoon are actually real people. And that blew
Right.
my mind as a kid. I was like, oh my gosh. So Hulk Hogan is a real person. He's not just a cartoon. So
Right.
I started watching Saturday Night Main Event. And back then in the 80s, like around 84, 85, any place you turned the TV on, you saw something wrestling.
Oh
Because
yeah.
the rock and wrestling with Cyndi Lauper on MTV, the guy
Right.
host Friday night videos on Friday night. And my sister was a teenager at the time, where there's 8 years between me and her. So she was a teenager when I was like 5 and 6 years old. And
Right.
so she watched the Friday night videos, and there, of course, would be wrestlers on there. And it's just crazy. It's like, man, this is a big world. And
Right.
I just became such a huge fan. And then my folks started watching the NWA, and they loved Dusty Rhodes and the Horsemen and the Rock and Roll Express, the Midnight. So that became a big part of my life too, was watching the NWA, Jim Crockett Promotions. So seeing WWF and the NWA back then, those were my two top companies. And then I have to say my third favorite company that I enjoyed watching was World Class. I love the Von Erichs. I was a big Von Erich.
Exactly.
So getting to watch WCW or WCCW, World Class Championship Wrestling. And then I watched AWA. Didn't really watch a lot of Global. I think they came on one of the channels, but I don't remember watching much of them as a kid. But I love the magazines, so I got to know who everybody was just by buying the magazines.
Exactly. People that won me over, other than Undertaker, was Bret Hart and then Roddy Piper.
Oh yeah, Piper's great. Piper's great.
They Live and him in the Saturday morning cartoon and in the Goonies video. I just loved hearing Piper. Anytime Piper went off on anybody.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I loved wrestling is so much fun, and I just feel so sorry for the kids now. And there's nothing wrong with wrestling today. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying,
Right.
man, I am blessed to have been able to have been a fan when I was a fan, because I'm still a fan of it. I'm still a fan of
Right.
it, but I absolutely love that I got to live through the 80s, when, to me, that's when wrestling was so just over the top huge. I mean, the guys that wrestled during that time period, they're household names today.
Exactly.
I'm just thankful that I got to experience all that.
So, are you still kind of a collector of wrestling memorabilia? Do you have something that's very close to you?
Oh, it's insane. Absolutely. Actually, this door that's open behind me, that's the room that's got all my stuff in it. So one of the times I'll have to do this show with you and take you in there and just let you look at all the stuff. It's ridiculous, honestly. But I've got pictures hanging up on all of just the guys that have worked for me, and
Oh, wow.
some of the special moments that's happened at my show. And so yeah, but I am also a big collector of Golden Girls memorabilia. So I'm a big fan of the Golden Girls. I watched it as a kid as well, and I love the show more and more every day. There's such a big following of Golden Girl fans out there now, so it's become a big phenomenon. So all kinds of good stuff. But if I ever want to retire, hopefully that room right there, if I decide to do everything, that'll be my retirement right there.
Do you have the Golden Girl Funko Pops?
I've got the NECA action figures. I've got bed sheets. I've got the shower curtain. I've got all kinds of clothing. I've got pajama bottoms. I've got t-shirts. Trying to think of something unique that's kind of different that maybe nobody even knows exists. I guess the bed sheet would probably be the most different thing that I've got that people don't realize exists. But there's so many cool merchandise out there. Like I say, you almost have to be a rich person just to be able to collect everything. So I surely by no means am a rich person, nor do I have everything I would like to have.
Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for Dan-A-Plooza. Is there anything else you want to say or promote or plug?
Oh, buddy, just if everybody can, this Saturday in Beckley at the Raleigh County Convention Center. If you can't join us live there in person, you can still join us live via stream. We're going to be streaming it live on www.aswwv.com. And I thank you, Dan, for letting me come on today.
All right. Everyone keep tuning in for more Dan-A-Plooza. We're going to have Rita Christine at 6 o'clock. So I'll see you there.